continuing with season 3. Thank you for listening to us today. And if you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do. Depending on what platform you're on, or follow us. Your host, Stephen Maxted, and today we have Lester Love joining us, YouTube strategist, recent connection through business. Lester, we just hit it off. We got talking YouTube.
Yeah.
I got passionate about it. I was like, we got to get you on here. And I mean, one of these episodes also go to YouTube. So super fun. Lester, why don't you give us a little background about, where you've been, where you're at, and where you're going?
All right. So like I said, my name is Lester, and I am the founder of Influence Works. Our website, Try Influence with CEO. And we pretty much, in a nutshell, I'd say we help brands, creators, and entrepreneurs to make money from YouTube, because at the end of the day, whatever it is that you're trying to do on YouTube, the goal is to make some form of income. All right. So be it from lead generation or directly from AdSense or even affiliate marketing, at the end of the day, what we're looking for, or what anyone is really looking for, or most of the time, is income. All right. So, and for that to happen, you do need traffic. So our goal for our client is to help you get a reach. So help make sure people are finding your videos, make sure people are choosing to watch your videos, and make sure people are staying to watch your videos. And once you hit all those three, then chance of you going viral, hitting the various corners of the on YouTube, is really high. If you have someone choosing to watch your video, but then you're not staying to watch your video, it's not going to perform that much. But if you have a really good video that people would pretty much stay to watch, but then you're not choosing to watch it, then it's also not going to do well. So it's we find a fine balance and then try to make sure all those three facets align for the videos to reach a target audience. So I've been doing this for the last 2 years, and it pretty much started sometime in 2020, and I actually got into YouTube initially because I wanted to share lessons on, folks were asking me how I do dropshipping. That was pretty much it. Okay. And I realized I was repeating the same answers every single time. So I'm like, okay, why don't I just record and then put the info out there? And I'm like, okay, the videos could actually reach more people. Why don't I learn to optimize? And then I researched, and then I got a video that did 20K views. So I'm like, oh, great. This is it. And then what happened afterwards was now people are reaching out to me from YouTube to help them with their videos. So people I didn't know, people I'd never met, and I actually made some good connections from YouTube as a result of that. So that kind of like has been like the backbone to eventually coming to this point.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Super cool. Okay, so I'm hearing there, like, prior dropshipping, started making content to help people figure that out. Then you get into YouTube basically now, and like, awesome. And why so focused on, I kind of know, like on YouTube still? What are the benefits of going with that platform?
I'd say for business owners, okay, for business owners, YouTube is pretty much the only platform that would kind of like pay you to advertise in a way. Now, why I say this is because once you hit the revenue target, the monetization targets of 1,000 subscribers and then 4,000 watch hours, you're invariably going to get paid for ads displayed over your video. So that's a YouTube monetization program. And there's no other platform out there that if your video as a business owner hits 10K, 20K, 30K, or even 100K views, would pay you. And that's pretty much marketing. So that also extends your reach because the reach that you're going to be getting, if you're spending advertising dollars on that, is going to cost you a little more to reach those same targets. So that is, for me, that's why I'm like, hey, YouTube is the way. You could do that, and then you have your long form again. You could split it into the different short form channels like TikTok, which is getting banned in the States. We don't know yet, but TikTok, Instagram Reels, and even YouTube Shorts, right? Or even LinkedIn. So it is kind of like, the go-to place for me. And from all indicators, YouTube is going to be there for like a really long time.
Awesome. That was a great recap.
Yeah.
I don't think enough people realize that though, about the 1,000 subscribers, or even like when it starts to take off. I'll throw something out there too. I know that stat that I heard early on, it was like there's two benchmarks you really want to aim for. One, 1,000 videos, and then two, or simultaneously, whatever the order was, 1,000 videos, 1,000 subscribers, and then other things after that. Those are just some things that I had heard when we were first getting on here. I don't know. We noticed an uptick after we had 1,000 videos on there. We're not at 1,000 subscribers. Maybe we'll talk after. Maybe after this episode it happens.
Sure.
Yeah, we're closing in. I think we're at like 100, 200 some. But yeah, we'd seen like that happen for us, and I'm sure that it's an ever evolving thing. Like I haven't really revisited like the new stats of like maybe where things need to be at now is a little bit different than when we first started. But at least for us, it was like a goal at the time to produce that much content and to stay consistent on there. What are some things that are important when producing this content on there? Obviously, it's like what you mentioned there about like quality. And I mean, something that we stick to. I don't know if it's necessarily like the best all the time, but we had some goals about how much to put out in terms of being consistent. What are some things that you look for when producing content on YouTube?
Yeah, I'd say for starters, anyone getting into this space, the first thing that you always want to do is optimize for consistency, which I would say is good that you guys optimize for that at the start. Because if you're not producing, then like you're not going to get the data, because data plays a big role. What we want in the early stages is data, right? So optimize for consistency. And in the business sphere, the other thing is research. So for us, a lot of things that we do pretty much is on research, seeing what others are doing in the space, in the niche that we are helping the client in, to understand that space, see what is resonating with people, make sure that there is an interest for the kind of content that we're about to create or the niche that we're about to operate in. And then once we know that there is interest and we see what people are searching for, the next is making sure that everything that we do aligns with, what people want. Because if we're creating content, and we worked with a podcast client one time, and that was actually a struggle, because it's like, it was more of a passion project than a business project. So even if you're providing sort of like recommendations, stuff like that, like it's going to be difficult to grow, because you're still creating not for the audience, you're creating for yourself. But you always want to align yourself with the flow of the audience interest. And that is very important. So once you do that, then you have to pay attention to your titles and you have to pay attention to your thumbnails. And for that, you need to make sure the two align. And the promise of the title and the thumbnail needs to be delivered also in the video. So depending on the niche, and you would hear people say that thumbnails are not important and all of that. That is BS. Now, thumbnails are really important. Now, the degree to which you make them fancy may vary depending on the niche you operate in, right? So the whole idea is make sure your thumbnail is standing out so that people are choosing to watch your video, right? So depending on the niche, sometimes it could just be a still picture, which of late, if you've been on YouTube, you know that, for example, there are these channels popping up where it's like, okay, if you're seeing this video, God wants you to see this, or your breakthrough is coming. And then that title plus, a picture of just a raw picture of someone like in their car, close up, and it's like, that is it. And people are choosing to watch that. So once now people are choosing to watch your video, you also want to carry them along to the end. If you can't carry them along to the end, make sure that at least a lot of people are watching up to like 50% of the video, 40 to 50% of the video. So if it's a 10-minute video, you're looking at 4 to 5 minutes. Because when that happens, then the chance of the video again reaching more people is higher. And that comes to like storytelling. So, but if you're hitting like we noticed that for videos that kind of like had an average view duration of like 2 minutes 30 seconds or 2 minutes 50, it kind of like hit up to like a 5K max in terms of views, and it kind of like flatlined on the YouTube graph. But anything beyond that, it kind of like went beyond 10K to like 100K. So those are also like things I need to pay attention to, right? I feel like I talk a lot.
No, I was like absorbing this in because we were literally reviewing actually like the stats coincidentally with part of my team that manages the podcast, like our podcast and other ones, and we're always looking at stats and stuff like that. So I was just absorbing that like a sponge over here, man. I'm like, and relating like to what things that we talked about yesterday, because we were, I forget what I'm gonna get it wrong, and it was not that long ago, but whatever we had quite a few more, to my surprise, not to knock us down, but I was like, oh, okay, people are watching further in here than I thought. I don't know. I didn't think that we had that, big of a solid funnel. Like once they start watching, they usually watch to the end for the long form. The shorts are kind of hit and miss on our end. That's what I noticed anyways. With other podcasts, a little bit more focused on like one topic. We kind of even talked about this yesterday, I guess, when we were first meeting about if you got like a niche in a specific area that you're talking about, like does very well. I know that there's this one video online. It's this guy, he didn't have a dad growing up, and then he himself made this like channel, and it's been around for a while. I don't know if he's still with us or not. I think he was a little bit older, but he has this one very infamous video about like how to tie a tie. That's literally the
Yeah,
title.
I know the channel you're talking about.
Yeah, and like I've watched, I mean, like I have a dad and I know how to tie a tie, but I don't do it that often. So like if I'm like, oh shit, like how do I tie a tie again? You know, it's just like it's not as common. Like I mean, neither of us
Yeah.
are intelligent. But like I'll go and watch that thing. That thing's got like millions of views. But his whole thing, like if you follow his like journey of videos, it's like very basic household stuff, basically. The tie thing I think was actually a little bit different off of a lot of his other content. But then that one hits and it hits for a really long time. And then people, like you said, like because it's short enough where like I kind of almost have to watch it again. Like
Yeah, it's
as
also
I'm
evergreen, right?
yeah, yeah, and it's like I'm like good content, you know, educational content that people like
Yeah.
use, and like, in a pinch, you're at like I've been putting together like with the groomsmen and stuff, like been in on the groomsmen side of things in weddings, and we're like, how do we tie these again? We're like we're like pull up the video like in front of us, so it's been used many times in the last several years for me personally, so I probably contributed a few views there, but that's a crazy example of what's gone, you know, viral and sticks out to me. There's other ones too, like I mean a lot of time it's entertainment that we see out there.
Yeah.
You know, one of these ones would be Mr. Beast, and now, you know, he's gone as far. I don't know if you've seen the series that he has on like,
On Prime?
Yeah, have you seen it?
No, I've not. I'm
Okay,
honestly, I'm not really a big fan of like Mr. Beast. I just know him because like he's a big name in the space that you kind of like need to learn
right.
from to understand things. But yeah, I'm never like a real
Okay.
fan of him.
Hey, that's okay. No, I think that there's some interesting stats. Like I do know these off of, and maybe they've evolved again from like last time I heard this, but it was like from doing the giveaways, he found that people reacted the same way to $100,000 giveaways as they do to like 1 million. Like he had the same amount of like entries or whatever as far as that goes, which I thought was, I mean, his is more extreme, right? We're not giving away any money. We're just having a conversation. But his are doing, you know, giant giveaways. And I was like, that's interesting because everyone values anything over 100K was what he was saying is as like a substantial change in lifestyle. And
Yeah.
anything more would just be like great, like equally improve my life. For most folks, that's you know, either a driving force to get to for a yearly salary, or they see it as like a huge win, right? Like it would change their trajectory of their life, perhaps. So I think there's some interesting stats within, you know, the YouTube community with not being on video stuff, but
Yeah.
all the analytics will go along with it. If anyone's listening and spends time on the back end of YouTube, you get a ton of analytics from that. What's one that sticks out to you that of being like most important for on the analytics side when you're like reviewing YouTube channels, podcasters, and folks?
Yeah, it all comes like the three core that I've already mentioned, which is make sure that people are finding your videos. So that will be click through rate. But the thing about click through rate at some point is the more your video reaches a wider audience, the more it kind of like starts to drop. So within like the first 24 to 48 hours for us is when it's like a good indicator of okay, if the click through rate at that point is pretty low, then we're either swapping out the title, swapping out the thumbnail, or changing the title, or doing a combination of both. And then that's when we do that, and then we wait again for another 24 hours, see how it performed, and then if it's doing good, then we leave it. If it still tanks, then we're changing it again, and then let it be. So first 24, 48, 72 hours, we are pretty much paying attention to the click-through rate. Then after that is more of the engagement metrics, which is actually more average view duration. But that, we can't really change much because the video is all there. So it's just lessons for the next video.
Yeah, no, we try to do that too. When you're looking at stuff, sometimes if it's like we often do not go in and change that. It's interesting that you suggest that or whatever. And I mean, obviously, it's a strategy that can work and stuff. But a lot of times, like month down, we're looking back at the stuff and be like, okay, which ones worked, what didn't? Okay, just hit. Maybe like that's either better for like the short or the long. Depends what happened there. That's super interesting that you go in and like critique it. It's almost like what's that? There's like a show like the first 48 or something. I think it's like a murder show or something. And that's almost like how you described the YouTube experience there. It's critical. First part of the video going out, right? And seeing how it performs.
The only time we wouldn't make that change is if in the first 24, 48 hours, the impressions are kind of like low. So if impressions are like 10 at the moment, okay, we're not going to change anything. But if impressions are about 100 and we see that impressions are growing, then okay, we need to do something else. Our efforts have gone to waste.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, where would you consider like views on long form or short form? Maybe they're different. Like a success in a video that you made, like you mentioned one before that hit like 20K, and there's like different levels of going viral. But at what point would you consider certain ones a success on like a new channel? What would be the goal there for viewership?
So we kind of like operate that we have there is this Excel document that we use to like check certain things. So the first thing
Okay.
is make sure the video gets 100 views. If it gets 100 views, like we're good. And again, for the first few videos, you're optimizing for consistency, putting as much videos out as much as possible, and then
Yeah.
so 100 views, then 500 and 1,000, which a lot of times we don't think about it. But in one of my posts on LinkedIn, I kind of like brought perspective to that what 500 views look like 500 people watching your video. That's almost like an auditorium.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and then and then 1,000. That's like okay, that's great. So at some point the videos start hitting the 1,000 mark, and it's like okay, now we need to break the 1,000 ceiling to get to 10,000. It kind of like depends on the channel and the niche. For business channels, a lot of times we're going kind of like core audience, so you wouldn't really have like more than say 10,000, right? If you want to do more than 10,000, you have to tap into like general interest as well, fusing that into the business content, to get more people in to watch your videos, and then from there, so access top of funnel, from there trickle down to people that are not interested in your core content, which would usually have like a 1 to 10K views.
Awesome. And I totally saw that visual that you posted. I thought it was fantastic. Because you're right, a lot of people like downplay even like having like 100 views on something, whatever it is, but it's like even when we look at like the marketing side of things, and we often refer to like bus benches or billboards, like you never get a stat off of how many people saw it. Digital marketing is one of the best ways to be able to track with the analytics how many eyes have scrolled by, different metrics there or stats and stuff to go off of. And you're right, that's like 500 people is a ton of people, regardless of what you posted. Like the fact
Regardless
that
what you posted.
yeah, it's just like that great. Even 200, it's like what's that other stat? It's like I think it's like an Alex Ramosi thing. You only need like 100 or 120 people to run a successful gym. After that, it like a little bit different in terms of like profitability and all blah blah blah. But it's like whatever your business or whatever you're trying to get out there, if you have like 100 people loyally liking, following, watching your stuff, that's a great following. I mean, obviously, you want to try to grow that to a more substantial following for a few different reasons. But
yeah,
I think it's great to put that in perspective of that visual because, yeah, 500 people is a lot of people. You're not going to be able to reach them in any other way. And you can grab their for however long your video was and to get a message out. Amazing.
Yeah, first time I had my first 100 views, like, and this time I didn't share the video link with like anyone I knew. I like,
Yeah.
it was crazy. I was happy. Yeah, so
Awesome.
it is. I mean, for me, I kind of like appreciate each view because you get to learn, the different what you need to do and understand the platform even more. So anyone watching this, yeah, if you're just getting your first 100 views, be happy about it. Even 20 views, even your first view, random person, that is great. Like it's a starting point. We all start from 0 and 1.
Yeah. Okay. On that note, outside of like views in our first 20, 100, I love the dialogue we're having about that. Now you start getting like comments and likes and subscribers. How do we value like those importance levels on different things in YouTube? Or how do you look at them from your end of the things?
So for us, we don't really pay attention to those, especially the comments. But I noticed that a lot of the videos that do well usually have a lot more comments. So if people are commenting, then it means it's touching, it's evoking some form of emotion, and so it, triggered. I mean, gets others triggered, get people defensive. So it's kind of like a war in the comments. Yeah, and it also kind of also help propels the video forward because it's a metric that okay, people are watching. Now they're commenting, so they're still on the same page on the video, So
yeah,
helping the algorithm.
that's fair. Actually, you just hit a chord in my head this morning. I was commented on a former client, and they have a really cool company. They grew and they brought some stuff in house. But I commented like, "Hey, like way to go!" And someone else commented, "You know how you get to see the other comments or whatever." And
Yeah.
sometimes it bothers me when it's like negative. And this one was particularly negative. It's like, actually, that's not correct. I'm like, you know what? There's like that like age old saying, like, you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And I'm a
Yeah.
pretty firm believer that we should probably do that on the online stuff. People that are just trigger happy out there on the whole like negative comments and stuff. And it bothers me sometimes because I'm like, do you
The
really have
keyboard
that?
warriors.
Yeah, keyboard warriors. Yeah, they're just like almost like either maybe it's a robot or whatever, but I find it kind of funny. It's not. I mean, it's nice when people just like it, or I mean, if they don't like it, then just ignore it, block it. Like you don't have to watch it. But I always find that funny because I'm just like, are you really that mad about this thing? Like it's, but that's the part of the effect of like a social media platform in a sense, right?
Yeah.
It's like your media out there. Um, if someone's, I guess, like fact checking you or something, then you got to be able to back it up, I guess, in a way. But um, yeah, there's like a funny correlation between like views and what that might mean. And
Yeah.
what else is important to have on like a YouTube channel when you're setting one up with a client or suggestion if they have one here, they got to like improve it.
So for the, I mean, like the main thing being ideation, being able to, look at what's out there and then,
Right.
have your own voice. And for most people, I'd say, especially when they are on camera, right? There's the first time you're doing something like this. Each video improves with time, right? With every video you're putting out there, you're getting more confident, you're building a new muscle. So, you have to be patient with it. You have to be patient with the process. Dependent on the kind of like channel we're building and the niche we're operating in. Yes, we can get you monetized within like 30 days. We can get you hitting the requirements within 30 days because we'll post about 3 videos a week. But and it also again depend on how confident you are on camera, how you're able to articulate. Your first video could be a game changer, right? But if you haven't, but those are generally outliers, and we don't want to base everything on the exceptions. So for most people, it would be okay. One, if I can aiming for consistency, if I can just do one video a week, I do one video, watch it, and yeah, you'll see it. I mean, it will be a little cringy, but still put it out there. Get back, create the next one, put it out there, and then eventually you get better and better. My first video, which was in 2020, I went back to look at it and I was like, "Holy, this is not me." I couldn't even look directly into the camera. That was how bad it was. But yeah, so but now I'm better on camera. I'm way confident on camera. Like I have no fuss being on camera. So
Yeah. Like you said, that consistency. I mean, it's something that we talk about on the marketing company like, quite a bit about like the consistency piece. It's just a matter of reps. Like whether you want to compare it to being like in a gym or just like life experience. That expression about like doing something for 10,000 hours, like becoming a master at it kind of thing, I think becomes very true in terms of creating content, whether it be on camera like this in dialogue, or if you're really good at making TikToks or whatever it is, more or TikTok like theme videos with more, which could easily be a YouTube short as well, just for the sake of like a short form entertainment clip, we'll say. Whatever you're comfy with, it does definitely take time. And I mean, you go back to early stages of us making this podcast, or clients that we worked with as well doing podcasts, and it sounds like you personally had that experience, like whatever, just getting comfy in front of camera. And I'm sure you can note from early on here, it's like it looks a lot different. You're just not afraid to kind of be yourself. I mean, like that's the beauty of podcasting for in our opinion too, is like it's a very genuine way to share a story. There becomes a certain point where you just kind of have to be you on camera no matter what. And I'm sure it happens to your clients too. And the more that they can be themselves, and probably the better views that they get because they're just being them. Yeah,
exactly.
Do you have any tips for getting comfy on camera besides doing more reps? Were there things that you did that helped you be better, or that you researched?
Well, one would be knowing the points that you're going to speak about, right? But for me, the I'll say the main thing is speaking to myself in the mirror. I do that a lot. Just look at myself in the mirror and then speak. And I like to also listen to speeches, so of great leaders. So Barack Obama was a great articulator of words. So I'll listen to Barack Obama's speech. listen to a Martin Luther King speech, or even President Kennedy. Those some those good speeches. I listen to them and kind of like speak to myself in the mirror, and that kind of like builds stuff. And I also noticed that if you are, before you turn on the camera, right, the person you are before you turn on the camera, and the person you are when you turn on the camera are two different set of people. So just if you pretend there's someone in there with you, like you're talking to someone, it's easier for you to communicate like yourself. But if you just go on, okay, let's do this. You'll be so good before being on camera, and that when the moment you turn it on, it's like, yeah, now you're fumbling and stuff like that. So you can always pretend there's someone in the room with you, and then you're speaking directly to that person, and you come off way better than you would have without.
That is a great tip, and I wonder what we've experienced that too with folks doing individual stuff, or if we're doing our own stuff. Sometimes I have like a team member on the video call, just kind of like off the side or whatever, because it's tricky. It's like you're talking to nobody, and there's a certain energy that's lost with not having someone else on the other end of the screen, even like we are right now. It's good. I mean, in person is a little bit better for the communication piece, but then if you're just you talking on screen and recording content, that can be tricky for sure.
Yeah.
So I totally get that idea of like listening to examples of speeches and stuff. I'm sure is very helpful. One of the most common things that I do is listen to other podcasts, try to understand what that, I mean, but everyone has their own like style too. That's kind of like the tricky part, is like, it's not like we're trying to be anyone else. It's just like, this is our thing. Like we have, whatever on, and we have conversations, we produce content, and then we put it out there, and then we get better.
I mean, the worst you can do if you have nothing to like, if you're still is, you can always imitate someone first, and then by that you develop your own style. So that's also something you can do.
That is a great tip too. I mean, and it's like, I guess, like more practice, right? You can even record content at a time. If you don't really like how it is looking, then do it again, get better at it. Not that you want it to be like too scripted or anything, but I mean, if you need it to be, that's all right. Eventually you get more comfortable with the thing out there. So good tips. I like it. And how important are other parts of the recording? Obviously, like today we're doing it virtually and stuff like that. What's some advice that you give to folks around? I know it's a little bit more of the focus about like the performance of the content once it's been made, and then from my understanding, you guys like take it, run with it, and help it perform well on YouTube. But in terms of creating content and when you're giving advice that way, what do some of those tips look like?
So I mean, you always want to make sure sound is, you have a good, be it a mic, a lapel mic, something little, or even your AirPods, but have some, because audio is pretty much very important. And without the audio, if you have a not so great audio, it could disrupt the entire experience. You can even without the visuals, like audio is pretty is pretty important. So always make sure that you're working on the audio. You don't need, you could literally just use your phone for that, or you could use I like my AirPods, so kind of like
me too. AirPods in there, like I think they're the best plug-in AirPods here. They're fantastic. That's what we started doing here, and like the audio is pretty good. It's obviously like a little bit better, I think, with like our mics and headphones now, but would be my guess versus the audio with just AirPods. But great plug.
So that is one. And also, for me, well, early on, I noticed that for myself personally, creating content, I was kind of like almost always in the fence. So in the fence being that I'm not really direct with what I'm saying. So, and it's like, okay, I'm not sure which side to pick, so it's like, okay, know your stuff and then stick to it. And if you look at someone like an Andrew Tate, for example, that's a very polarizing guy, but he sticks his message, regardless of what it is, he just sticks to it. And then, he speaks with conviction. So there needs to be that conviction, in your articulation, in your content, in your advice, in your tips, whatever it is, because people can, usually see through that. If there isn't any form of conviction in there, I don't know about this guy, so there needs to be that conviction in there.
Absolutely. And when I hear you say that too, I'm thinking, okay, you're building trust with the person listening to you, right?
Yeah.
Are they actually believing what you're saying? Because if you're not believing it, it's going to be tough for them to be like, yeah, I totally understand the message that he or she is, saying online here, kind of thing. I think that's a really good point for sure.
Yeah.
Someone who's just getting started. So awesome. Now
Yeah.
something we chatted about before here a little bit, and it was actually, well, I think we mentioned a little bit, but in terms of like thumbnails, what are some trends that you've seen? You said like they're high importance. I know we got talking about this a little bit yesterday too in one of our meetings there. But like, what are you looking for to design a good looking thumbnail in there? Like, what's happening? What's trendy? That I've seen a mix of different stuff. Some to me that actually don't look like they'd work that well, but they seem to be hitting. When you look at like the views of whatever the video is. But what would be like a tip to someone who's just exploring that?
Yeah. So this is heavily niche dependent because
Okay.
depending on the niche, that would change. But a
Yeah.
lot of times you want to keep it simple as much as possible, and you want to make sure that the colors are attractive. So that's usually like, for example, if you're seeing a Mr. Beast thumbnail, you'd see the blue, you see the yellow. They kind of like stand out. And as much as possible, you always want to like have just three things on there. So either the face, a text, and in the background, or an arrow pointing to something, and that works well. And again, depending on the niche, that would change. Some is just the still image. So my boyfriend broke up with me, and it's just a girl, a sad face, sad looking face, and it's in a dark corner. It's like, okay, I need to watch this. It's
Yeah.
but so I'll say study your niche first. Know what
Right.
is performing in there. There are tools out there. I haven't used this one in particular, but it's 1 out of 10. One of 10. It's a tool that's usually recommended in the community for standout thumbnails. But I use Would You Click. So it's wouldyouklick.com, where I insert the thumbnail that we've created, and then see once you do
Yeah.
that, it kind of like populates other different videos on there. Like
Interesting.
it would be a YouTube platform, and then I'll see if I would click on this thumbnail. And sometimes it's a no, sometimes it's a yes, and even the yes sometimes it may tank, right? So I'll say have at least three thumbnails on the side that you can swap through, and then but first make sure you know what is performed in your niche. You can transfer one style from a different niche to your niche. So looking for outliers and then creating accordingly.
Awesome. Well, what do you see happen, or do you think there's going to be like a change when we do see maybe, but we're speculating here with like the TikTok thing? Do you think YouTube will become more popular? Like the other platforms will kind of gain more attention because people aren't scrolling on that one as much, if that does happen?
Well, what I was reading was that people are gravitating towards like other alternatives, other short form channel alternatives, and but at the end of the day, people are going to come back to YouTube.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is, I mean, on the TVs that we have, smart TVs, one app
Yeah.
that's consistently there, YouTube, right? If I want to listen to music, YouTube. If I want to watch something else, YouTube. Like whatever it is, YouTube is there. Right? Rarely do I go on TikTok, even though I know TikTok does exist. And
Yeah.
if you're looking for more, I know people say that short form content is the way attention spans are decreasing and stuff like that. But in my opinion, people still watch movies. People still go to the theaters to watch movies.
Oh,
Mr. Beast has his videos getting like over 1 million views. So even though they are saying that the trends, in my opinion, what I'm seeing is different, it's also going to be relying on YouTube. So I would say, yeah, YouTube will still be the way for most people, regardless of
yeah.
whatever short form channel that comes up.
Right. Yeah. Like whatever else is going on
Yeah.
in that space. Yeah, I think I agree with that too. I was just curious to have your take on it, but I think you're right. I think as you're saying it, it's like that makes a lot of sense. There's other stuff that is going to be out there, but there's still going to be, like you said, movies, TV shows, music,
Yeah.
whatever you look at. You got to tie a tie, you got to have a piece of wood. I don't know what else they're educating on there, but and a lot of yeah, like I mean, like more online, like school kind of stuff for kids too.
Yeah.
Is on YouTube. I don't explore this a ton. I just have noticed, and even chatting with some friends of mine who their kids are homeschooled and stuff, and sometimes they go to YouTube for resources, for that kind of stuff. Like tips,
Yeah.
tricks, online tutors, and that kind of stuff, which I find pretty interesting. I wonder if down the road that's going to have an impact on, education stuff.
Yeah, I can speak to education because I had a client, and this is from he's in Ghana, and he has a law channel, a YouTube channel that focuses on law, and he just pretty much teaches people on there. He's been able to build an entire community and make a living off of that just by YouTube. And those are like very boring because I wouldn't watch that. But then for the lawyer, for those pursuing a law degree, like that is like something that is helping them tremendously. So he's been able to like build a whole should I say education system out of that, and he's earning, he's reaping the rewards off of that. So but one thing that would blow your mind as to why again YouTube is still going to be the place for most people is you'd be surprised if I tell you, for example, that people listen to scary stories to sleep.
Really?
And they're doing that on YouTube. So those are the faceless channels where they're, like I was mentioning yesterday, there's no face behind that. And people are just listening to these horror stories for an hour long. You're playing it in the background and then you're sleeping with rain sounds, stuff like that.
Okay, well, I get like, I think the term is called like white noise or gray noise or whatever, like just like the little whatever. I get that to sleep, or maybe like a rain effect or something, maybe, but everything, like I feel like I'd subconsciously absorb the story and then it would turn into like a nightmare or something. Like I don't know if I would get behind that or if I could, but that's good.
It worked for that. So first time I came across, I'm like, no, this doesn't make sense to me at all. But
that's even if I've ever had an extended nap on the couch or whatever, falling asleep on the couch and TV is on, it's like a bit startling when that's like on when I get up. I don't know if it actually does affect like my dreams at all necessarily or any of like my thoughts, but it certainly is a little scary. So I wonder what it's like to wake up to like this like horror story, if that, or maybe it cuts off, I guess, at some point.
Yeah,
probably does. Yeah, interesting. But it's like, what if someone on YouTube, like the tie guy or whatever, I was like, something about whatever that thing was there, how to tie a tie. He's kind of like the best video out there for tying a tie. I had this debate with someone who's a teacher before, and I was like, hey, like you should get on YouTube. This is like a few years ago even. I was like, hey, you should get on here. This is, I guess, when like 2020 timing. Schools are in flux and stuff, but it's it's kind of interesting to think about though, because what if someone was like the best at teaching grade 5 math, and they're just like the best at it. Like everyone can learn from this person, whoever they are. And like that goes really viral, and they're like just the best to teach. Like I don't even know what, like multiplication, I think in grade 5 or something like that, right? You could really see it like taking off and like that having like a huge impact on people going to that as a resource. If they're like the best online tutor, and like that's, so to say, possibly free, they're getting paid on their end, like you said, if they have over a certain amount of subscribers and stuff, that could then could have an effect on things. If that becomes too, whatever it is. So. Yeah, random thought.
Yeah, anyone with a skill, anyone that wants to like, I mean, if you have a skill, if you're good at something, I'd say just for the fun of it, just create, because you don't know what opportunities you're opening up for yourself.
Yeah. What do you think the biggest like holdback for people is when, if they're not, they should be making a channel, but they're not? What's some of the maybe reasons that people are not doing it?
So I'd say one would be what's the phrase for that? I mean, a lack of trust in themselves, or they don't imposter syndrome, I'd say. Because and then there's also other people are doing it, so why would they watch me? But the thing is, if other people are doing it, then that's a good indicator that okay, there is interest here, so you should do it, right? Versus if no one was doing it and then you want to do it, now there is a risk of it, like it might do well, but chances of it not doing well is kind of like high because there is a reason no one else is doing it, right? So,
interesting.
Yes. But yeah, so that is the other, seeing other people doing it, and then also thinking about like the equipment, getting a fancy camera and all of that. But you have the iPhones now. The iPhones are good for videos. You can just pick up your phone and record. So again, no need to worry about that. And funny thing is, again, there are some videos that are even right now people are creating like they're just recording themselves driving their car and they're talking, or they're in a park sitting down and then talking. There was a lady I was watching today just giving advice to men. And it's like she's just sitting in the park in her car, her phone is up, and she's recording, and that's it. Right. So yeah, the whole idea of like getting fancy equipment is like no longer a thing. Like the ability to create content is now easy and accessible to all. It's just that a lot of times we like to consume and we like to procrastinate rather than create.
Huh. That's a really good point there too about the amount of equipment. I mean, we talked about it at the gates, like AirPods or headphones, whatever, good, needed, but like our phones are great. We have cameras on both ends that are very high quality now, even if it's not brand new. There's I mean, a few iPhones ago or whatever I had, those are good cameras. Literally keep the phone hanging around just in case this one goes down. I need to use a phone or use the camera right away if the battery runs out and we're filming stuff. Often we're using the phone. So like brings up a good point of like, hey, like don't let that stop you just because you don't have a camera. We do have fancy cameras over here and stuff. Like good to have for some of our clients, but it's necessary right away. You got to find out if you like it or not. So cool. This is good. What's the minimum that you'd recommend someone make for the amount of content to see if it's like really give it a chance? If it just as a rough stat, I mean, people should keep trying it, in my opinion. I think you probably agree with this too, about if you're passionate about it, you'll improve and get better. But is there a number that you think that folks should kind of like aim to as like a first test run to see like, hey, how are things going here, and analyze, after that kind of thing is like, hey, was this successful?
One thing that I like about the YouTube platform is any new channel can take off instantly. And I know there was a time that, for example, Mr. Beast would say, create your first 100 videos first and then see all of that, or your first 40 videos. A friend was telling me, launching a video is like 40 videos on the channel first. But here's where, for us, we've seen that, like, again, depending on the niche, if you're doing 12 videos a month, like, you can see quickly if a video is going to do well. I mean, if the channel is going to do well, if your content is, you get enough data because the algorithm will definitely pick your videos at some point. There was a channel I started like 2 days, sometime 2 weeks ago, and posted the first video. After 3 days, the algorithm started picking it up, but the average view duration was kind of like low, so the video didn't perform as much, and people were not clicking through a lot. But I could see the amount of impressions it was getting, like so. That was just after 3 days, right? So just being able to, if you're able to do minimum 4 videos a month, like you're good to go. If you can do 12 videos, you're good to go. But just make sure you are creative and think of it as you're sowing seeds. So like you're a farmer. You're a farmer. Every video is a seed that you are planting, and it would, some would fall on good soil, some would fall on bad soil, some will fall among the thorns, some will fall along the wayside, some the birds will come for. But through it all, you'll be able to see, what you're doing and the impact of it.
Yeah. Something that I think I heard you there, but I want to dive into it a little bit more is like, you're saying that over like a 3-day window or 4-day window after the video is created, you'll still see some residual uptick. Yeah. I think that's something that folks get nervous about. They'll watch it for the first hour or 2 hours. Like they're kind of monitoring the success. I've literally been there before as well. I'm like, how's it doing? But then I think like it's so stupid. But you get excited when you're early on. You're like, oh, how's it? Or if you've thought you've made good content, and because sometimes it doesn't. You think you've made good content, and it doesn't go well. But then other times you just make content and it does awesome. But we've seen that on other platforms too, whether it be on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, and then all of a sudden it's like 800 views or something, and then it kind of climbs up for a bit. Often it's the more entertaining stuff. And from my experience, like we had one for a client, like sus in terms of its performance because it climbed up so high for such a simple video, but whatever, the people wanted to watch it, and it was like us hooking up a trailer hitch on a construction site or whatever. But I'd kind of seen a few videos go viral like that, and I'm like, I think we're going to do a funny video with this, like funny audio, just connect the trailer. I convinced the guy, one of the guys that was filming with us, that I'm like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. And yeah, I ended up hitting but it was weird. It was over like a week-long period, and all of a sudden it climbed up to like almost just shy of 200,000 views. I think it was 177K on Instagram, like a reel or whatever. Yeah, but I mean, it just depends. So that was like a great example of like, I was just like, whatever, maybe I'll get like 2,000 views. And then it was just, and then it kept going up, but it didn't happen right away either. It was kind of like the next day, all of a sudden something hit, someone liked it, someone shared it. I have no idea what really made it go. And it was just like, you don't know though, right? Like, you're sowing seeds, you're running a risk, but it's better to have it out there than not, I think, ultimately too. Like, because if you're not participating, someone's kind of looking in that category of information, whatever it is, business, personal, and you've made it on there, great. People will find out, do you fall in column, A or B? Am I liking it or not? And then maybe you got a subscriber, and then you got a follower, and then you're making money. And then they're calling you. They're like, oh, I need more help.
Yeah, and the funny thing about actually also just creating and putting it out there is you'd have the one that will take off, right? But that becomes like the video that gets people to now go back to see other pieces of content. So if you don't have the other pieces of content there, then it's kind of like, okay, you had your chance, bye-bye.
Right. Really good point. Yeah, because they might actually be genuinely more interested in the other kind of boring stuff, but you've caught their attention with the entertainment factor, the trailer hitch, we'll say, or whatever it is. What stage of like company or YouTuber, like, are they just starting a channel when they come to you, or are they already into like having a channel, but now they need like an extra set of hands to help with running this stuff, or maybe it's a mix of both for you guys?
For the longest time, we've just done creators or brands that already have a channel, and then they need help. We've tried where like it has started, and then it was growing, or it wasn't. There was a bit of stagnation, and then realized sometimes on our end as a business, we need people that have the leverage, a form of leverage that we can build on. If there's no form of leverage, then it becomes tedious, and no matter what you do, even though the strategies should work, because there is some form of bottleneck that has not been addressed, it comes back to you, even though it's not really you. So you can implement the same strategies for like other clients, and other clients will see the result, but because you don't have any form of leverage, it's like, your strategies don't work, and it's not really about the strategies. It's really about what you already have going on. So just to avoid that, it's like, okay, we'll probably just consult you on that front, on things that you need to do, or get you list of content that you should create, or how to do research. But we wouldn't really work directly with you unless it's probably just video editing that you need help with, and then we would have the team just help you with your video editing.
Interesting. Okay, so a little bit of a mixture there to help them at an early stage, but you more work with folks that have an established page, and they need help growing it from there, and video editing. Very cool. Very neat. This has been Lester, is there anything else that you want to add in on stuff that you guys are up to, or things that people should know about YouTube?
I think one I'd say is, when it comes to, so far we've discussed numbers like click-through rates, average view duration, and stuff like that. And a lot of times, there's one thing that the YouTube algorithm will never be able to teach us, and which is the emotional state of people whenever they're watching videos. And I find that sometimes, I've also fallen victim to, a video will do so well, and it's like, yes, this video did well, and then we'll try to predict every single thing that we did, we were thinking made the video go so well. But the YouTube algorithm doesn't really measure that. And because there isn't that, we might try doing it again and again and again, and realize, okay, now we're not getting the same result as we got as that video. There is something in there. There might be, just about something about the energy of the video. There might be something that we're not, seeing. And as a result of that, the videos don't do well. And for a lot of creators, what happens is this pattern kind of like leads to creator burnout, where it's like, okay, now we are grinding, but we're not getting the result that we're supposed to be getting. So that is something that I'd say people should pay attention to whenever they're creating content. That, we are at the end of the day dealing with human beings, right? So in as much as a video takes off, we can only base our decisions on what the numbers are telling us. But then there are sometimes that there are things that go beyond what we're seeing, beyond the visual, that we can't really pinpoint. But the moment, I mean, if you're getting every other thing right, you know, if you put in your best, making sure you're getting these things right, then every other thing, just leave it to the algorithm. Sometimes the videos may not pick up immediately, and not because the title is bad or the thumbnail is bad, but it's just the algorithm has not yet picked it up, or interest. People are not really searching for it just yet. So it's still good to just put it out there and then keep it out there. Someday, 3 months later, out of nowhere, just realize that video is taken off, and you can't really stay why. So the most important thing is to create. And another thing is, when people start creating just because of the monetary aspect of it, which at the end of the day, yes, it's a big factor for people creating, just individual creators. If you're going in just because I'm going to make money, it kind of delays your progress, because you may not see that instantly. Where we're like, okay, we want to make the best video we can. We want to make the next video better than the last video, and just focus on those inputs, then chances of you succeeding is pretty high.
Oh, I love that. We've seen different random spikes on our channel and other ones that we managed to. And so why? Who knows? Some headline out there, some popular tag that we used, or we thought was working back then, didn't, and then it worked 5 months later, and you're kind of like, what the heck? That's great to hear you say. It's very reassuring, I think, for myself and other listeners who've gone this far in the episode to hear that. Gives them more confidence to continue doing it. It's definitely a long play. My take too. It's likely why you're saying before you want to work with folks that already have kind of a following, just because it's a bit of a grind to get a page up and going, get some of those views happening. And then after you do have some numbers to go off of, makes more sense ultimately to get some help in the space. So fantastic. Lester, how should people find you? The website, and we'll include this in the links below if someone's listening right now, but what's the best way to get a hold of you, and where can they find you online?
I was listening to this guy, Sam Ovens, and he was talking about how it's important to restrict the number of outlets that people can reach you through so you can focus.
Okay, well, tell us one.
But yeah, I'm available on Instagram at I am Lester Love on Instagram, and yes, that should work. Or LinkedIn, but I rarely go onto LinkedIn, or the last few months I haven't been on LinkedIn as much as I want to be. But Instagram is a place that you can find me easily. Okay.
Awesome. Well, we'll do that one link for sure. Maybe we'll limit, we'll see how that works. But it's been great to have you on. Thanks for making time here today. And it's been great to talk to you too. I feel like we could have probably just gone on for a while. Next time we'll have to maybe share some screens and get into the weeds a little bit more. This is great. Thanks for making time. And we appreciate it.
Funny thing, I actually did have, but I actually did have some stuff that I was like, I was going to share, if there was need for it, titles, about stuff like that. But hey, next time.
Okay. Well, sounds good. We'll do it 2.0. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Leslie.
All right. Thanks.